Hi, I'd like to just take a couple minutes here and describe to you the basics of the printing plate. Each printing process has a different type of printing plate, and when your artwork is being prepared for printing, it needs to be uh, put on, your artwork and design needs to be put onto a printing plate. It needs to be transferred to a printing plate. The printing plate holds the ink that transfers it to the paper or the material or the t-shirt or whatever that gets printed. So each process has a different type of printing plate, and when it presses upon it, it needs to press it onto another surface or cylinder, and we call that the impression cylinder. So here in the letterpress, we have the impression cylinder here, which is just what it's pressed against, and down here is the plate cylinder. So that has the artwork on it, and the ink gets applied to the plate, and the ink gets transferred, pressed onto the paper. In this photo here, the plate is laid flat. It's a raised metal letters, and here's the impression surface here. And so it presses, the ink gets applied to the plate, it gets pressed down onto it and transfers the image, just like a stamp. We all understand letterpress, I think. In gravure printing, the plate is down here, and the plate has divots, has tiny little holes, very small holes that get filled with ink, and then scraped off by this blade. So just the holes contain ink, and when it gets pressed against the cylinder, the ink gets transferred from the holes to the paper. So here we have the impression cylinder that it gets pressed upon, and the plate, and the paper goes between the two. In offset lithography, there's a third cylinder added to it, and that's what creates the name offset. So here we have the plate cylinder. Your image is on the plate, the ink gets put onto this plate, and then the ink gets transferred to this, what's called a blanket cylinder. And the blanket is basically a rubber cylinder, and that holds the image, holds the ink in the image form, and then it presses upon the paper against the impression cylinder. So we'll look at the benefits of that later, why that is set up like that, but we still have the plate and the impression there. In flexography, we have our plate cylinder down here, and the plate is similar to letterpress, as in it's a raised image, but it's on plastic, and it presses against the paper and the impression cylinder here. You can see that here the plate touches the paper. In letterpress, the plate touches the paper. Gravure, the plate touches the paper. However, in offset, the plate never touches the paper. The image is transferred to a blanket first. That's why it's called offset. All right, back to where I was here. Screen printing. The screen is the plate in this case. And so we'll have an impression cylinder, what it gets pressed upon, but the screen acts as the plate, and the ink gets passed through the screen. And the plate, the screen, does touch the paper or the cloth or whatever it's being printed on. The one difference is with the digital press. The digital press doesn't have a traditional plate per se. It's an electrical roller that holds a charge, and it takes your digital image and converts it to electrical charge, and the ink / toner is of the opposite electrical charge, and in electricity, opposites attract. So that the ink gets attracted to the electrical image on the roller, and then gets transferred to the paper, and then it gets fused with the fusion roller here, gets fused to the paper with heat. So quite a different process, and we wouldn't say that this is a plate in a digital press. We just call it a roller, image roller, toner roller, something like that. Anyways, that's it. Hope that helps. Thanks.